When you know the dimensions of a polyline, it is sometimes easier to create it by typing coordinates and distances rather than drawing it with the mouse. You end up creating a polyline that consists entirely of line segments, but after you're finished, you can convert any of the lines to arcs or splines, or you can add fillets to the corners. I'll give an example using this diagram. I will draw the polyline that is shown in red. It consists of 4 lines and 2 arcs. The arcs are identified with the green numerals 2 and 4. This particular shape is just a rectangle with 2 rounded corners, so the fastest way to create it would be to draw a rectangle that is 48 by 68 units in size, and then put a fillet of 10 units at 2 of the corners. However, I will show you how to create this shape by typing coordinates and distances, because there will be some shapes that are easier to create by this method rather than by trying to modify rectangles and other basic shapes. I'll create it by drawing 6 lines, and when I'm finished, I'll convert 2 of the lines into arcs. You can create a polyline simply by typing X and Y coordinates with a keyboard, or by typing the distances and angles from one node in the polyline to the next. For this example, I'll begin by creating the vertical line that is identified by the green numeral 1. This line is 38 units long. I'll draw this so that the upper left corner is at a coordinate of x0, y0. I can move the entire polyline later. At the moment, x0, y0 is at the lower left corner of this image, right here. So I will move it so that it is in this area to make it easier for you to see. To set the location of x0, y0, click the menu button at the upper left corner of the page, or press the escape key on the keyboard to get the menu, and then select the option to move x0, y0, and then select the option to show where you want x0, y0 to be. I will click here, and now this location is at x0, y0. The first point in this polyline will be at a coordinate of x0, y0. However, I don't have to type the letters x or y. Instead, all I do is type the numbers and separate them with a comma or a space. You don't have to choose any menu options in order to create polylines with this method. Whenever you are at the drawing page and you are not in the middle of some other operation, and the mouse is not over anything, MillWrite will assume that you want to create a polyline if you press any of the digits on the keyboard or if you press the star key. Therefore, to specify the first point of this polyline is at x0, y0, all I do is press the 0 key, then a comma, and then another 0. Notice that as soon as I typed the first 0, the screen changed along the top, right, and bottom to remind me of the options available for specifying the coordinates of a polyline. The right side of the screen shows 5 different options. The first option shows that to specify a coordinate, just enter the values without the letters X, Y, or Z. As I type the numbers, MillWrite draws a dotted X on the screen to show me the location that I'm specifying. Then I click the Accept This Point button, or I can press the Enter key on the keyboard to let MillWrite know that I'm finished specifying the first point in this polyline. You don't have to specify the Z coordinate. MillWrite will assume Z is 0 if you don't specify a third value. Now I have to specify the other end of this vertical line. According to the diagram, the end of the vertical line is 38 units down in the Y direction. Since I set the upper end of this line to x0, y0, that means the lower end will be at x0, y minus 38. Therefore, to specify the other end of this line, I type 0, minus 38. I'll now press the Enter key to let MillWrite know that I'm finished specifying this coordinate. MillWrite replaces the dotted line with a solid line. I just created the first line of this polyline. The next link in the polyline is a tangent arc but I'll create a line instead and convert it to a tangent arc after I finished creating the entire polyline. This arc is tangent to a vertical and a horizontal line, so it's easy to see that it has a radius of 10 units, and that the other end of the arc is 10 units over in x and 10 units down in y. It's easy to determine that the coordinate at the end of that arc is x10, y48. Therefore, I could type 10, 48. However, I'll use a different method. So I'll backspace over that and start over. Notice the messages along the right side of the screen. I have several options for specifying locations. For this example, I'll specify distances, which is described along the right side of the screen as option number 2. I'll start by pressing the star key to let MillWrite know that I want to specify a distance in x rather than an actual x coordinate. And then I type the distance, which is 10. I then type another star to let MillWrite know that I want to specify a distance in y, and then I type -10. When you are entering distances, you don't have to bother entering commas or separating the values with spaces because the stars will separate the values. The *10, *-10 tells MillWrite that I want the next node in this polyline to be at a distance of 10 units in x and -10 units in y. I'll press Enter to let MillWrite know I'm finished specifying this point. MillWrite then creates the second line in this polyline. The third line in this polyline is horizontal, and it has a length of 48 units. For this line, I'll specify distances and directions, which is described on the right side of the screen as option number 5. Since the line is towards the right, all I have to do is type the letter R for right, and then type the number 48. This tells MillWrite to draw the next point 48 units to the right. I then press the Enter key. The next line in this polyline is another tangent arc, but this time it's at a distance of +10 units in y rather than -10 units. I'll do the same as before and type *10 and then another *10. And then I'll press the Enter key. For the fifth line, I'll specify distances and angles, which is described on the right side of the screen as option number 4. I'll type 38 and then I'll press either the greater than or the less than key on the keyboard, and then I type 90. This tells MillWrite that I want the next point in the polyline to be 38 units away from the current point and along a direction of 90 degrees. Then I press the Enter key. I'm now ready to do the very last line in the polyline. At the bottom right corner of the screen is a message that reminds me that I can press the letter C to close this polyline. The letter C is in a different color to show you that it is a keyboard shortcut. So I'll press the letter C and then Enter, and MillWrite creates the 6th line in order to close this polyline. Now I have to convert 2 of the lines into tangent arcs. There are several ways that I can do this. One method is to move the mouse over one of the lines that I want to convert into an arc. Information about the polyline appears on the right side of the screen. Notice that there is a tab that says XYZ. This has the geometry information about the polyline. Click that tab and it shows you that particular link of the polyline chain. At the top of these parameters is a field that shows the type of geometry that this particular link is. In this case, it shows it's a flexible line. I'll click on that field and change it to an arc. When a line is converted to an arc, MillWrite has to guess at the radius and direction. And MillWrite will assume that you want the arc to be tangent to whatever precedes it in the polyline. In this case, we want it to be tangent to the preceding line, so MillWrite will correctly set the arc as we want, and we don't have to do anything else. Now that this arc has been set correctly, I could press the page down key or click the next button to jump to the other line that needs to be changed into an arc. Or I could turn the mouse scroll wheel to get to that link in the chain, and then I could change it to an arc with the same procedure. However, since this video is intended to show you how to use MillWrite, I'll use a different method to convert that other line. I'll move the mouse back into the drawing. Notice that when the mouse moves out of the parameter area, it turns to an icon that says "Go back" with a question mark. MillWrite doesn't know if you are accidentally moving the mouse out of that parameter area or if you are finished editing the parameters and want to go back to the drawing. So click the mouse one time in the drawing to let MillWrite know that you want to go back to the drawing. I'll use the fillet function to convert the other line into an arc. I'll click the Edit button. Notice that there are letters along the right side of the screen in a faint color. These letters remind you of the keyboard shortcuts for those particular menu options. For example, the letter F along the right for the fillet function means that I could have pressed the letter F on the keyboard to start the fillet function. I'll now select the fillet function. Notice that the top and right side of the screen changed to show me the options. In this particular case, the line needs to be turned into an arc with a radius of 10 units. So I'll type 10 for the fillet radius. Note that I don't have to click any buttons or move the mouse anywhere in order to set the fillet radius. There is only one data field, so all I have to do is type 10. It doesn't matter where the mouse happens to be. Then I press the Enter key to let MillWrite know that I'm finished typing. Next, I move the mouse over the line that I want to convert into a fillet. As soon as I do this, the mouse changes its icon and shows the word Fixed Fillet. This lets me know that I'm on the line and that the fillet will be fixed to a specific radius rather than being dragged around by the mouse. If I now click the left button, it becomes a tangent arc with a radius of 10 units. If I had set the fillet option to drag the fillet, then when I move the mouse over the line or arc, the mouse icon shows Drag Fillet, and if I click the left button, I can drag the fillet to whatever size I want. The drag option is useful when you are designing something visually. When you want a fillet to be a specific radius, enter that value and then click the line or arc. Note that if you set the fillet to 0 and then click an arc, the fillet will disappear.